So the whole fab tech, where is the powder coating industry epiphany, the whole cliffhanger deal, whatever. It's not that big of a deal, but to get there, you have to have a little bit of probably need to do a little history lesson, right? So in when I started Powder X in 2000, we at that point there were most of the people that sold equipment or did any of that in the industry, it was large automated systems, right? Because I mean that's where I came from. We all came from from the big large systems that were doing office furniture and all this stuff, like the millions and millions of dollars worth of stuff. And so I met the George Epps, who was the gentleman that started the Line-X franchises. So he had Mr. Epps, loved Mr. Epps, was great, amazing man. Miss him every day, miss his guidance. But Mr. Epps started, he was entrepreneurial spirit, right? And was all about the whole franchising thing. And when we started Powder X, we started looking for holes in the powder coating market and things like that, and decided that we were going to sell batch equipment to people who wanted to start small powder coating businesses. And go back and look at your history, and go back and look at everybody online who sells batch systems, packages, and all this stuff that's out there now. We were the first ones, and by far, like for several years before anyone else did it, to the point of that when we went to the first powder coating show, and back then it was kind of, no offense against anybody that was in the industry, anybody that was there, but it was somewhat by engineers for engineers. It was a very engineering driven, shake hands, kiss babies sort of trade show by the industry for the industry, right? So, and most people that you saw there were already somewhat in it. I don't even know that it was as much about a trade show for sales as much as it was a trade show for learning and for networking. Anyway, that all being said, and I'm getting to the point, I promise, but it's important, I think, to lay this groundwork. So when we first showed up at the first powder coating shows, I literally had people, and I'm not going to call them out, but they know who they are. I literally had people come up to us at the show that were like, "You guys are never going to make it. Nobody's ever going to buy batch powder coating equipment. Nobody's ever going to open batch powder coating shops. That's a little market. Blah 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 blah," and that was their opinion. And I gotta be honest with you, there for about the first year and a half, 2 years, I kind of thought they were right, because it sort of sucked there for a minute. But but it that put a chip on my shoulder. To be very honest with you, I had a me against the world mentality for a very long time. That it's like, okay, we're just going to prove you wrong. And I'll never forget the day a few days later when some of the big wigs from one of the bigger companies came in and actually showed up at my office in Tennessee and wanted to talk to us about partnering up on some things and working with us on some of the batch equipment things. And I'm being honest, my thought at that time was, screw you. You wouldn't talk to me 4 or 5 years ago, and now because your business is suffering, you want to do what I'm doing, but you want me to tell you how we're doing it? No, right? So fast forward that up until sort of where we are now with FabTech and what happened in Chicago. So I was involved in, I guess I'm kind of in a unique situation, because we're sort of known as the batch guys a lot. Even though we build some large systems, we kind of have that batch guy sort of reputation, or we have had for years. So a lot a lot of people on the floor came up and talked to me. So I'm talking to people on the trade show floor and all that. But I'm also, because I've been in the industry long enough now, I know most of the people that are the suppliers. So I'm having conversations with these guys as well. And what I realized was that I've kind of become, I've kind of went from sort of the outsider sort of guy to maybe the insider sort of thing a little bit. And through those conversations, I would be honest, I just had a really uneasy, not an uneasy feeling about I want to stress this, not an uneasy feeling about the strength of the industry and where the industry is going. The industry is going amazingly strong. Things are getting better every day. More and more people know what powder coating is. There's, all of that, that's all amazing. What I realized was, though, there seems to be there was a divide in the industry when we came in and caused this ripple. But when we did, we were the only ones making the wave, right? So there wasn't really that big a divide. It was like all of them and kind of us. I noticed at FabTech, right? There's like there's a real sort of divide in the thing. There's the old school manufacturers of equipment and all this who say, this is what you do, this is how you do it, it must be this way, and whatever. And then from a customer standpoint, the people that I see walking through here, there were a lot of people that guys in the industry, me included, I go back and look at old videos, I've done it a lot. But that were like hobbyists. Oh, there's these hobbyists. Oh, the hobby guys, the grandma's kitchen oven dudes, right? And I realized that FabTech walking through this year and talking to the customer base stuff, there's a lot more of those people than everybody thinks there are. Like there's a bunch. And what I think we fail as an industry sometimes to realize is just because you start that way does not mean that that's where you're going to end up. That's just the first step on their journey, right? And too many people, I heard vendor after vendor after vendor after vendor, people who look down their noses at the guys who are just starting out and didn't, and not realizing that that's the same, that bridge you're trying to burn today is the one you may have to cross later, or however whatever the saying goes. But yeah, so the whole epiphany thing about the industry was, I really think that there's some divide there with some of that, and from a company corporate standpoint, for my company, my 23-year-old company who started as the outsider, who has become much more of the insider type thing, we're changing. I had the epiphany afterwards. I had a couple of nights where I was just like, man, something just didn't set right with all this. So of where things were going. But we're changing. We had a staff meeting, and we'll have some different things that sort of come to the market that are going to be more so to help people who are starting out, like to really try to help those guys. Now listen, we're still not going to sell the kitchen oven and those sorts of things. I can't. Legally, we're, because of because of our insurance and because how we're classified as a manufacturer, and you're Class A and like all these different things, there's just some stuff we can't do. So we're never going to be the guys that make anything in a barn, that doesn't work. We have to meet certain levels of stuff and things like that. But it still doesn't mean we're going to look down our noses at anybody that starts out that way and that needs help. So I think you're going to see a lot more informational stuff come out from us because I think it's in all of our best interest, especially for the future of this. Like, let's help this group get to where, let's help this group become the next group of folks that are making 15, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a month in powder coating because it's easy. Those numbers are not hard to achieve, and we all know it. We've helped thousands of people get there. It's not difficult to do. If you want it bad enough, there's always a path to get there, right? And I can't afford to do it is the worst one because the baloney. Yeah, you can if you want it bad enough. There's always a way, and we can. Everybody, you can always find a way. Um, but to help them want it bad enough, they really got to see the help. And the other thing too is there's so much bad advice out there. It's like everybody that has a channel or whatever that's is it we owe it to make sure that we're teaching people the right way on how to do things so that it gives them the best opportunity to be successful. But and that's what we're committed to do. So yeah, you'll see and hear a lot more from us on that as it moves along. Because that's I'm excited about it. I think that's going to be. I think it's only going to be good for the industry, good for my company, and good for good for all of us all the way around. But